Good morning, folks out in Facebook or wherever you are right now when you are watching this. If you're watching, feel free to participate. What I'm finding out is that people are watching these videos in their own time. So the value of it being live is you can participate if you'd like. I got a question and then some follow-ups from Stephanie, one of our peeps in Effigyville. She asks, is happiness all it's cracked up to be? What's better? And I want to say Stephanie is a therapist, so she's not just, I don't think she's winging it when she asks that. And then she says, sure, it's been said that, she said, I've been sad. You've seen it in the breath. So during the breath classes, she said a lot of sadness coming up. And you've seen the part of me that can default to everything's okay. Yeah, so I know this part of you too. I think the idea of happiness being the balm for grief and sadness or loss is questionable. I'm going to agree with you with that one. From a spiritual growth aspect, I'm asking, let me know if you need more clarification. And then she does actually give me more clarification. She wrote me this morning, a little more reflection about the notion of happiness not being a very good balm for sadness. And if it isn't happiness, what is? You said something to Sam the other day, something like, if you go for something, and I would insert the notion of happiness here, if you go for happiness, you've already kept yourself from getting it. So for me, maybe it's about being open somehow. In the breath last night, I noticed something felt different, like there was more room to be open. It was a relief in that moment. And I was thinking about the levels you've talked about a lot lately and how happiness is more on the material level. Stephanie and I are going to chat again today live on Instagram. So I'm going to address some of the things directly that she's saying, because she said some things here, but I want to get more information about her experience. So let's first of all, I want to say that when she says the different levels, I'm talking about the different levels of existence. And first level being survival and physical and animal. The second being structural, where most people live. Structural is about only living really on the earth plane and getting what you can from the things that the earth plane can give you, like security, comfort, money, stimulation. I'm thinking about these people. I've seen videos of people protesting in the streets because they want their freedom back, and they want to go out and they don't want to social distance. And I'm not going to tell you that I have an opinion one way or another, but what I observe about people like this is it's very mental, because the idea of what they're saying is based on like an idea. So ideas are very mental, and most ideas come from conditioning. Is so why people are tribal, like, live free or die. It's an American cultural thing, and culture is cult. And so structure level has a lot to do with the coordination of the tribe to make it better by having group thinking. And then energetic level is beginning to actually take responsibility for allowing and working with your feelings. And then a spiritual level is, why are you here? The spiritual level is the part of you that's connected to God, that's come here to fulfill something. And most people, I don't think about that. Not on a daily basis, or not in terms of how they decide to make choices and live their life in the day-to-day. All of us can get caught in the mundane. I was just making breakfast this morning. I was making coffee. I mean, it's Groundhog Day, like day 39, I think. I've been in quarantine. And just watching myself do the same things over and over again. I was doing that this morning, just watching myself make coffee and just amused at how the mundane is extraordinary. So now to get back to Stephanie. So she said, I was thinking about the levels and how happiness is more on a material level. I think that happiness is not a spiritual thing. I think joy is a spiritual thing, but I think happiness is a structural level. Hi, Ali. I think structural level life is about pleasing the body, is about fulfilling what the body wants, which is fine, but physical reality and structural reality is finite. Consciousness is not. So if you live to happiness, you live to always seeking it. So that's where addiction, or meaning the decision to go to the outside, to the external world. Hi, Ali. Why we go to the external world to satiate ourselves, whether it's smoking weed or drinking or watching Netflix or eating things compulsively. Like most people's choices don't come from a feeling inside or an impulse to fulfill their life purpose. At the same time, every impulse inside you is connected to a divine impulse. It's all about where your attention is. One time some person, said to me that I was so psychic because I could read them. A friend of Sarah's, actually. And I said, I'm not psychic at all. Like, the psychic realm is just where thoughts and feelings are. All I'm doing is putting my attention on a level of life. Anybody can do this. If you want to put your attention on the energetic or the spiritual level, you are going to experience a lot of loss of control. And most trauma exists as that part of us having been injured, and therefore it's repressed and put away. And if you don't want to feel it, you're not going to want to live on the energetic level, because it's more like water going down a river. So the issue of happiness is about making sure that your human self likes what's going on. Joy to me is closer to a spiritual state, exaltation, awe, A-W-E, awe, is more connected to a spiritual state. To me, what happiness is a condition, is a temporary condition that is also completely married to your programs. Because what you think happiness is about preference. And you can change a lot. And when you learn how to suffer and learn how not to be happy and not to be seeking happiness, you will change hormonally, structurally, energetically, and you'll feel more of your spiritual self. And when you're feeling more of your spiritual self, your idea of happiness will change. I mean, even just aging, happiness changes. You get hit 40 and you start to change. And like, what I think would make me happy now is not what it was when my son on 420 wanted to smoke weed. It was so important. It was like 3 days of him planning this out. And then I went out in the backyard and while he smoked a blunt, and Sarisha and I did. And I could have joined him. Like, I mean, it's not a big deal. And I didn't see that feeling that I would have had in the past when I was 17, like that I need to do this to like that it's going to give me something. It's his idea of happiness. It's just limited. And I think that's what life is up until 40, is limited. When you hit 40, you can start looking for meaning, really. And I know for myself, I am a little bit of an odd unicorn. I definitely was seeking meaning, or thinking I was seeking, or thinking I had meaning when I was younger. But my mechanism for seeking that meaning was limited. So no matter what, you're in limitation. And I don't know what I'll think at 70, but at 56, like, I definitely am not. I see that what matters to me is just much different. So I just want to go back to what you said. You said you've seen it in the breath. You see the part of you can default to everything's okay. So that's a program right there. Like, it's just that everything is okay or everything's not okay is a mind thing in and of itself. But you're talking about disconnecting from all the colors in the palette, all the things between black and white. Like when you default to everything's okay, you're just ignoring the complexity, and telling yourself something. And this is what the mind does. It just puts a story on top of reality. Seems like a favorite phrase this past week, as I mentioned it in the fiction, which Sarah said to me in 2017 regarding something that was happening. And the fiction to me means stop storytelling. And everything's okay is a story. It's just meaningless. Then you put, I think the idea of happiness being the balm for grief and sadness or loss is questionable. And obviously, I agree with you. What you're really asking is, what's the balm for grief, sadness, and loss? And I think that's where the gold is. Because like Allie, I don't know if you're still watching, but I know Allie lost a parent, right? 37, 38. Like when you go through loss, you have to, you aren't just facing the loss of whatever you lost in that moment. You're facing every loss, and you're facing the loss of your own life. Like loss is such a profound transformational thing, because the reality is you'll take a breathe in when you're born, and you'll breathe out when you're at your last breath, and you will die. And like we're all just preparing for that. And so when somebody else dies or gets sick, great, thanks, Allie. I had a feeling you're still here. When somebody gets sick or dies or whatever, we go through some kind of loss, like a loss of a relationship, you're facing what you have not processed about your life that was the loss before. And we're all disconnected from that because there's terror in feeling it. We feel we'll be annihilated, or at the very least, if we experience the full power of loss, it will never end. We'll never survive it. So we do a lot of repressing in our life around loss. And Stephanie's idea in the past was to search for happiness. And I think there's a value in searching for things to do that please you. But I think about life more like not what do I want, but what wants to happen. Because I'll be most happy if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And my job is to find out what that is. And so, like any artist, you're just flailing around sometimes until you land on it. So I think it's okay to be in the search, because that's creativity, that's life itself. But to be searching for happiness so you won't feel sad is to admit that you are sad. You're already there. So if it's there, don't tell the truth. I have deep sadness. And then you are in relationship with God in that moment, because you're saying, I cannot heal this. Like, what do you want? Like, what can I learn from this? Like, remake me, reshape me and from this loss. Inevitably, everything that dies was followed by a birth, and everything that's birthing will eventually die. So I think that our opportunity in this, and what I would offer you today before I let you go, I've been talking 15 minutes. It feels like half an hour. The opportunity to me is the acceptance that whatever is really there is really there. And Stephanie, you know what that is. So if it's loss and sadness, then you have to admit that fully, and you're not trying to like more the better, and you're not trying to say everything's okay. You're trying to face reality as it really is, not as how you want it to be, or how you've thought it to be that turns out to be inaccurate. In fact, loss can come up just from the fact of realizing that what you thought something was isn't what it was. betrayal to me, like, often has to do with coming back to reality, like finally seeing things for what they really are. So one thing, other thing you said, when I said to Sam something like, if you go for something, in this you would insert the notion of happiness, you've already kept yourself from getting it. Yeah, I just, two last things. I mean, I know this is all some heavy shit, man, but for one, when there's a magnetism in life, and when you go after things, if you're in a desperation, or you're in an unconscious state around the going for, there's a seeking, a stickiness, a hunger inside. You will push it away, for sure. Like, it's a magnetism. Your unconscious has the magnetism, not your conscious. When you go to seek something, you're only going to get it if you have a feeling inside that you're going to get it. But if you have a feeling inside that you're not, and you're seeking happiness, you're putting it outside like it's not already in you. I mean, this is the game of the law of attraction. And believe me, I'm not a proponent of the law of attraction according to that book or that movie, The Secret. But I think the law of attraction is that you have to magnetize what it is that you're looking for. If you don't have an internal feeling at the deepest level possible of having the thing that you want, you're going to chase after it like it's out there, and it will always be out there. So it's the same with happiness. And I think that if you change the goal and say, I'm not looking for happiness, I'm looking for acceptance, then you have more chance of finding joy. So I'm going to talk to Stephanie this afternoon. We'll see how much of this she processed and what else is on her mind. And anybody else who wants to join me anytime on Instagram, or you have questions, or you just want to put something out into the space and have me talk about it in the morning, please do, because that's why I'm here. And tomorrow we have an intro breath, and we're always doing breaths Monday and Wednesday. And if you're watching this, you really should buy my book, because everything that I possibly think about this work is put into 100 pages. It's a great book. It tells my story, talks about breath work, talks about the process of freeing your mind. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you, Allie. Lots of love, everybody. Bye.